Well, hello everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. My name is Jason Levine, and welcome to this very special Friday Masterclass here on Adobe Live, Behance, YouTube, and Twitter Periscope, as well as Facebook, where today we're going to be talking about remote editing 1 year later. Now, many of you may remember a year ago, I did a whole series of different streams around working from home, editing from home, working from home, collaborating from home. And these are really sort of the beginnings of taking a different look and a different approach at the remote world of editing and collaboration because we were all of us, locked down. So here we are now a year later, and I'm going to be joined by my dear friend and colleague, senior manager for digital video, a man that I've known since my very first day at Adobe. Very cool guy. You know him from Dave's Tech Table on YouTube, and if you've been in the industry for a while, you know this man. You've seen him at NAB and IBC. It is the one and only Dave Helmly. How are you doing today, Dave?
Hey, Jason. Happy Friday, man. Happy to be here. This should be a fun session today.
Dude, I'm so glad you could join me. And you are, among many of our other colleagues, Sue Skidmore and others, really, you've been intimately involved with not just the remote editing process, but the cloud-based editing process and the renting a machine in the cloud editing process and all of these things since the beginning, since we had
Absolutely.
Adobe Anywhere and then team projects and everything else. And you were the person I really wanted to bring on today to really kind of go through what's out there, what's changed in the last year, what's affordable, and what's realistic for not just, the super, super high end, but also, what if you're a social video creator, but you've got someone shooting something for you in New York, but you're in LA. How do you collaborate efficiently? How do you share cloud space? How do you really work efficiently? And that's what I was hoping you could tell us about today.
It is my day-to-day routine. We were lucky. We got started on cloud editing about 2 months before COVID hit. So, like December, 2019 and experimenting with all sorts of things. And you're absolutely right. We just want to know what works. And that's kind of what I thought I'd talk about today with you. And we can just kind of answer some questions because there's a lot of solutions out there. I'm sure people have tried a lot of the things we'll talk about today. And then I'll kind of talk about one that I've been using a lot lately, and I've kind of introduced you to, and I think you and I can agree that this is just an easy one that people might want to check out. But again, there's a lot of cool solutions out there, and sometimes you can use combinations of things as well. So again, what's working? And I say, what's working really? Like, come on, what's really
right?
That's what we want.
Well, this is what our Masterclass audience expects. So we're definitely going to do that. As always, of course, I mentioned we're coming to you live on Adobe Live, Behance, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter Periscope. So just a couple of quick shout outs. I see we've got Reverb Mike and Quinn Stevenson, who's blessed to be back in the office. Z by HP Tech Marketing, great to see you. They say hello to you as well, Dave. Umacorn Browers. Dave, you got a lot of hellos. No hellos even for me today. They're just excited to see you. All the regulars. Ferry.
That just means
Wade,
I've been here too long.
Steve Kosoboom. Yes. Mohammed Sharif. All right. Great to see you. Anissa. Oh, wonderful to see you too. Chris Georginas. And we've got Chandru Gouda and Nero and Jorge and Eloy and Abir and Christian Mayer. All right. Joining us on the Twitter and the Periscopes and everywhere else. Alleycat Productions, Mustafa, Saif, and Ankit. Thank you so much for joining. I want to remind everyone, of course, that you can ask questions in any of the various chats. I'm looking directly at the Adobe Live chat, which is this one here. So if you're on Adobe Live or you want the one that's in front of my eyes here, Behance, b.net/Adobe Live. We've also got Adobe colleagues and some of the partners that we're going to be talking about in the various chats. So whether you're on Facebook or YouTube, you can ask questions there and we'll answer them for you too. And I've got my colleagues feeding me different questions as they come in, so don't be shy. But I think, Dave, why don't we kick into it? Because I know we got a lot of stuff we want to kind of talk about and kind of give everybody like you said, here's the real deal. Here's what's available. Here's, depending upon the environment that you're working in and the kind of stuff you're producing. Are you an enterprise? Are you a 3 to 15 person team? Maybe it's just you and someone that you use to do
2 editors and
shooting.
a monkey. I mean, we want to make sure we include everybody.
Whatever that configuration is. So you tell me when you're ready to share your screen and I'll pull it up on here and we'll get started.
Anytime, I will get this ready. So let's start with just a couple of slides. I promise it'll just be a couple. So let me know when you can when you can see that. Okay.
Oh yeah, you're up and ready.
All right. So look, let's just jump right into this. Jason, let's be real here. We're seeing our home offices start to look like this now. my home office, which is the one down in the lower left with all the or the lower right with all the monitors and kind of messy there. And then you're right next to me. Talk a little bit about this. You know, you and I have always sort of worked remotely, so we're kind of used to this. But some of the ones up top, some friends of mine, my buddy Brian, who does the Cartoon President show with late night tunes and tuning out the news, and some friends of mine over at Turner Studios, you're starting to see these home offices grow, right? So there is a common problem between even your office and my office, where we seem to have pretty much all the equipment anybody would ever want. Right. How do we connect remotely? And we know this is here to stay. You know what I mean? Absolutely. Like, to me, it's like, I can throw more monitors on my desk. Believe me, I can get more pixels there. But how do I really get to a point to where you're seeing the same media that I'm seeing, or how do I log into different computers? So I thought we'd talk about that. And by the way, I think you need one more keyboard. I think you've got a little bit of space there, just under that one on the right.
Yeah, I was going to say, everybody knows my photos because they've got the lighting in there. But yes, that last one on the bottom left. Yes, someone said, hey, you should get the view from behind you with one of the cameras and just label everything. So yeah, just a few vintage synths there.
I'll even say on my desk, there's 3 monitors you can't even see with the view.
Right. Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah.
So all right, let's talk a little bit about this. And sorry, this is a busy slide, but really I've just sort of featured 3 solutions that I work with a lot. And these are what I call peer-to-peer. This would allow me to log into Jason's computer, or maybe I'm logging in, and maybe I work for NBC at 30 Rock, and I want to log into an editing bay there, or just sort of do what I call a peer-to-peer pixel share, screen share, kind of like what we're doing today. And of course, you get mouse control and all that. And one of the ones that a lot of my customers really like a lot is one called Splashtop. They do have a personal free version. I find the Splashtop Business to be really good. They've done a lot of work with Apple on the Metal side to really make it a great experience for Mac users. And you see down at the bottom, I sort of said Mac host and client, because that's important. Yeah. If you're a Mac user, how can I log into another Mac? And, yes, Windows to Mac, Mac to Windows, Windows to Windows, Mac to Mac. And then in the middle, one that I've worked with for a long time, and I've always been a fan of what's formerly known as HP RGS and now called Z Remote Boost. Even if you're a Mac user, this allows you to log into a Windows machine and have a really, really good response. You can use it on any Windows 10 machine that sort of meets the newer Windows 10 requirements. Nothing new there. Yeah. It's free if you happen to own an HP workstation. But I just wanted to let people know that this peer-to-peer solution works really, really well. And the Mac, which is a client to the Windows, is beautiful. HP has done just a phenomenal job on that. So definitely check that out if you need to log in. Yeah, Jason.
And I was gonna say, I love that too, that you actually are mentioning all of this, because this is something, right, that we still hear. I mean, it's actually, it's nice. It's great for the industry that, oh, so-and-so's still on Windows, or he's on Mac, or whomever they're using, whatever. It's great to see that these solutions are addressing that. Because again, if you go back even a few years ago, it was typically, it had to be the same OS. There were a lot more restrictions. Now, as you said,
and it was very laggy too.
It was laggy, better, right? Now, right, you've got HP kind of as your host, but you can be on a remote Mac dialing into that Windows HP system, and it feels like it should. There's really there's no change to you.
I give them credit, just like I give the Splashtop guys credit. They've really fine-tuned this for the newer Windows GPU and the newer Mac Metal GPU. That's what's helping us get rid of the lag. So definitely check them out. Feel free to ask questions in the chat pod there if you have them. But I'm a big fan of these when you need to log in to a particular computer. That's a different need. And remember, your computer home becomes kind of what Chase in the old days, a dumb terminal, right? You're basically you could be on a MacBook Air logging into, a dual HP Z8. Or 7920 Dell or something like that, and have all the power because you're just using your Mac or lightweight machine as a window into that computer.
Yeah.
And then there's another solution by Teradici, which is very, very similar. Dell resells this. Of course, Teradici sells it, and it's very similar. They have hinted and talked about a Mac host at some point. Don't have a whole lot of information on that, but their Mac client certainly works great. And that brings me into this next model, which I have a lot of customers using this, where you're really renting a computer in the cloud. And we do support these for video editing. I worked many, many months with a good friend of mine in engineering, Peter Lee, and we came up with the best practice guides. I'm sure we'll get those pasted in the chat pod for you. But this is where you want to rent a computer from AWS or Azure with a certain configuration. You'll actually use Teradici to log in. And you can see here, I've got, I can log into a Google platform, Microsoft Azure, or AWS, and I log in them all the time. I even log into machines all around the world and get to a particular machine to do a particular thing. Sometimes it's a security thing too, where enterprises want to be able to do this. And these can be pretty complex to set up. So, Sue on our partner team has worked really closely with a lot of our systems integrator partners, system providers, we call them. And here's 3, Remote Picture Labs, Bebop, and Stratascore. This is really white glove service. It's like, hey, Jason says, I need 7 machines set up. I'd like to have them set up in the next couple of hours. And they'll just set them up for you, send you a bill, and you kind of go from there. So this is a new kind of model where you can just set up and go, and it's pretty fast. But again, you're renting the computer over time. So let's talk.
And this is, and I was gonna say, and that is everything we've seen up until now. So these are sort of, if we're looking at sort of tiers of hierarchy of user, this is larger teams, enterprise. This
exactly.
You're right. You just require, you have a lot more head count involved in the process. But the next slide is really targeting, which is the individual user, the very small team.
Yeah. Like cloud share. So companies like Cumulo will do this for the enterprise. So just so you mentioned enterprise, and they're getting very popular. We've worked really closely with them, a really smart team out there. But they really sort of fit that previous model as well, where it's what we call VDI. You're renting this virtual desktop instance in the cloud, and they've got an amazing cloud share support for that at the enterprise level. And again, we've got other partners like Tiger Bridge and LucidLink, which will allow you, which is more what you and I want to talk about today, which is like, I just want to get to a common folder and a common place, which means that if you're moving media, I want to get to that media without having to download it on my computer, because we're all used to what we call sync and share, which is like a Dropbox or even an Adobe Creative Cloud and these other services, OneDrive. But wouldn't it be great if we could just have a volume that mounts and we can just read and write to it at will and have sort of a central point of truth? And you'll see that I've highlighted a few things. And the hardest one to solve, I have to be honest with the group here, has been supporting Mac. Mac and the file system, when you get into these things, I will just say, LucidLink, which is what we'll show today, has done a really, really great job of making this available to Mac, Windows, and by the way, even Linux users. And they work on a number of different platforms. And price-wise, they've kind of got that nailed. They're as little as, $12. I have a lot of friends that are on that and starting to use that instead of some of the other sync and share services. So, Jason, I thought we'd go over this a little bit today. Maybe you and I can just do a quick demo about how some of this works and maybe answer some questions.
Yeah, definitely. And actually, Ben Holmes just chimed in and said, we use the LucidLink via PostLab, an amazing product. And Dave turned me on to this. And part of why you introduced me to this, and we're not going to get any pricing stuff, but this is a very affordable solution. And for me personally, who's sort of a single person shop, I use my children to do filming for me. They get paid nothing. No, but I have a good friend in San Francisco. Can't see them, so they shoot stuff. I'd love it if they could start, building some sequences for me just with rough cuts, and then I just pop into my LucidLink, which is it looks like a mounted drive, and it's all there, and it's so incredibly fast. I think the thing that I was most impressed with is just how quick the sort of asynchronous access for media being uploaded and then media being used is that, I mean, it's pretty stellar, and we're going to kind of get a taste of that.
I think for me, just for the crowd, as they start to see this, and of course, many people that have seen me do this demo in the past, if I'm excited about storage, it's probably time to lean forward and listen, because I think you would agree with me. There's nothing more boring than storage. We just want our data to be there. We want it to be fast, because we're kind of want to get into that creative zone, right? I don't want to have to be an IT manager to figure out how to connect to all this stuff. And this is one of the things that I look for, especially when I called you on this. And I'm like, Jace, you got to check this out. This is so simple that you don't have to worry about it.
That's actually the key, right? So again, cut back to even a few years ago, or even our own solutions when we were doing Anywhere and stuff. The configuration, or the configuring, not the configuration, configuring for success was I mean, you kind of needed the handheld service there to really make it work. And this, and there are others as well. It's pretty much out of the box. And again, it functions as if it were a drive, except it's in the cloud. And it's pretty awesome. And I see Ben's like, we use Gigabit Fire. We can run 4K off Lucid.
Absolutely.
You're going to see that too live
and
as
by
well
the way,
here.
We should point out, like, again, I don't want to turn this into any kind of commercial. We don't. They're not an Adobe company. They're their own thing. I just found them and got excited and have worked close. But for our crowd here, for a lot of the people that are what we call our CCI users, right? Creative Cloud individuals that just say, I have a Creative Cloud, take a look at the $12 a month per terabyte, which is I'll show you today. You can jump right in and just start checking it out. And then again, you do get some better features when you step up to $30 a month, 35, some teams and some
always the
security
tiers.
Stuff. But just to get your feet wet, if you're curious, go check it out. You might be pleasantly surprised. And I will also add, I have a lot of enterprises on this. I have one enterprise customer has over 1,000 users using a solution we'll show you today. So it does tier, and it's very rare. You would agree that we can take you from sort of an individual all the way up. And again, it depends on the workflow. And by the way, this solution also works with VDI if you need to connect to it, or even the peer-to-peer stuff. So it kind of goes across everything we just showed you.
Right. Which, by the way, I posted that VDI HelpX link on Facebook and YouTube. Everyone can access that now. Steve Gershon is asking, I think I can give him the answer, but what is a free service that we could use for two partners?
Well,
free service.
So take a look at what we'll show you today.
Yeah.
Split the difference,
right?
Well, because they do offer, and then just go try it out. I think it's a $30 one. You can get multiple logins on that one. Just split the difference and have at it. So
remember, as we're discussing this, as Dave mentioned at the top, you can use things like Dropbox or even Creative Cloud storage to do similar kinds of things. The difference is the ones we're going to show you and we've been talking about are sort of optimized for this workflow.
Yeah,
so you can
and we're going to run
this
projects from the cloud. That's the difference.
From the cloud.
We're not copying anything down other than some cache data. That's it.
Exactly.
So,
all right. Well, why don't you?
I'll jump in there when you're ready.
Yeah, I'm ready. If you can, I see you've still got our.
I'm going to pull this down. Is that good there?
That's fine. Go ahead.
Okay, so I'm going to just, so first of all, Jason, let me just sort of set this up for people that aren't real familiar. So we're going to make this seem as easy as connecting a USB drive, or you see I've got, a little mini Xserve here, and I even have a little QNAP share set up. We're all used to having central file servers when we're at the office where someone's got this set up. We network into it. We can just drag stuff on and off a network drive, and we love it. But now that we're at home, we miss it, right? Again, me having a server here doesn't serve anybody but me. How do I create the server environment with drag and drop abilities so Jason can get to those files, or anyone on the planet? So I'm going to launch the LucidLink client. It's going to auto log me in to my little Adobe partition. And the first thing it did was it just gave me a little volume that looks like I just plugged in a little USB drive or a network share. So when I double click on it, you'll see I'm the administrator, so I have lots of folders on here, and I have lots of different users assigned. And I'm going to go into the Levine space. And Jason, I'm going to quickly just set up a folder
Okay, and actually, while you're doing that, hold on. So I'm going
Yeah, please.
I happen to have that open as well. So I'm going to switch my screen over and just zoom in. So here's Levine's space on, you can see it's the Adobe, and you can see Dave just made Jason Masterclass. He just made a folder right there.
And by the way, I'm on the cloud today. I'm connected via AWS, just if you're curious what I'm connected to. And I just wrote a file on what we call an AWS S3 space that fast. So there's a file system that handles all this for me. I don't do anything. It's like the Ronco of cloud cloud file space. Very simple. Set it, forget it. So now I'm going to copy some files over there, Jason. So I'm going to open up that folder. I'm going to pop over to my hard drive. And let's say you and I are working on a project. And I'm just going to copy some high-res files. These are some ProRes 444 files. It's going to prep these files in less than 10 seconds. Ready?
Yeah, and people, if you're already,
by the way,
you're seeing they're already showing up as being uploaded. They just popped up immediately. Oh,
and I'm going to go into a folder that I know you have access to as well. And I'm going to open up a project on the cloud. I'm going to bring up Premiere here, which I have down at the bottom. LucidLink is now open, and I'm ready to edit. You see how fast that was, right? I mean, there's nothing pre-done here. I mean, there are some caching things happening in the background. Again, you can see this little green arrows telling me, but watch, I can just play that. I can stop it. I can start it. I'm going to put this in what I would call a little geek mode, which will show people. And Jason, let me up. This looks good. Full screen, if that looks okay.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. This looks great.
I'm not dropping any frames. No. I'm at 1920 full quality. If I back out and I just say, let me import some files here. Oh, by the way, I do want to, just because I'm here, have some fun on this. Let me go to Levine space.
Right. By the way, just so everyone was noticing on my screen, these loaded moments ago. So everything's already ready. It's oh boy, you're putting a new file. What are you putting in there now, Dave?
I gotta go back in time a little bit. So I'm gonna grab some classes. Some files here. And the first one I'm gonna grab is I'm gonna grab these ProRes files and drag them down here. And this is a 4K at full quality, not dropping any frames. And you and I, by the way, are doing this class today. So there's a lot of bits going back just supporting this. Start and stop 4K, full quality. And if I read this, I'm getting to every frame. Now, this is doing some pretty cool caching tricks. Happy to talk tech with anyone that wants to know, all right, hold on, how's that working? And I got to tell you, Jason, I had to call some really good friends of mine. I'll just call out a buddy of mine, Dave Leopold, who I've known for years, and Brian Maffett. I'm like, you guys got to help me out. I don't know. My brain hurts trying to figure out how this, and I'm pretty good with the tech stuff. And I had them sort of vet it out. And they're like, yeah, dude, this is some pretty good stuff. So some definite voodoo stuff happening here. So full 4K. But before I forget, let me just share a file that I just put up for the crowd here. Let me just play this for you.
They're all saying I look scared. I am scared because I know what it is. Oh my. Exciting and it's back when I had dark hair.
So I had to share that with the
Thank
crowd.
you.
That's
Always
Jason and I and team worked on this. That's Dave Collier, by the way, from Full House. Had a great edit. And there's Todd Burke way back when. So see how quick I can just get this stuff up to the cloud and haunt you a little bit. So now, did you copy any files up there yourself, Jason? If I need to get out.
Oh yeah, sorry, I was too busy being afraid. So here, let me go back to my screen, just real quickly. Oh God, Dave. Now the chat is hopping. Okay, thank you. Now everyone's talking. Everyone's been quiet. Where the priorities are.
I'll just leave that up there.
Thank you. Of course you will.
By the way, you still look that great. By the way, I'll just point that out. By the way, I think you did that in one take too. When we did
I did do it in one take.
That was for a sort of an internal fun meeting. So I was going to ask you, did you have any files that you already?
So I just did. So I just uploaded. It's called into the Jason Masterclass folder.
You see it's right here. And if I just import this. And let me see what's happening here. Is that a unsupported compression type? What was that one? Looks like how big's the file? Oh,
it's only 800.
It's still uploading. See where it says here? Okay.
Yeah.
It looks like it's
still uploading. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. It's coming in. I'm looking at it on my screen too.
There it goes.
There you go. Now it should be ready.
Ready for me now.
Now it should be ready.
Pretty much as fast as I can get to this, I'm kind of ready to go. So again, this is crazy, right? So Jason and I can just be working on this together. He's like, hey, Dave, I got this file. He uploads it. You start getting really in your creative zone and less on the IT side. It's just like you get so used to just having the files there, just like we're in the same office. And by the way, if I wanted to, pop back out to, this project or something, and I decide to export, I would just export this, right to the cloud. If I needed to come in and, right there, and I just put that right. Now, what we might do is put this in a reviewer folder, and I might put it to a read-only folder, and then maybe legal or something has to do that. And why would I export it locally when I have this crazy speed? And when I upload it to the cloud, it's available to everyone. And the other thing is, at any time, if I come over here and I want to, like, Jason's got this file, and I'm sure he's already snagged the one up here. I want that file. I'm going to just drag it locally, right? See how fast it is? Boom, she's done.
Right.
So,
and that's a key distinction here, because I'm sure if you're tuning in late, you're like, oh, I get it. It created a folder. Now it's saving all of that on his desktop. No, that's why when you saw it, he drag copied. He didn't move it.
He's
now copying
local.
it from the cloud down to the local drive. Yeah, there it is.
So you just kind of get into this mode. And again, for those that are on tight budgets, and let's just say a shout out to all the students out there having to go through COVID. And I've certainly got my senior in college here. This is a great way to work together. Get some students, get on the $12 a month plan. A terabyte is plenty to work with. By the way, you can see the folder will expand out. I've got 1.1 petabytes available to me, so you never really run out of room. They'll keep building that up for you. So if you need 2 terabytes, $24 a month. And again, for the enterprise users, there's all sorts. I mean, let me just answer that question in case it's coming up. But if I go over to the control panel for enterprise users, they do have SSO and groups and all the different things out there. So just know that it kind of serves a wide range of users. But anyway, I think just to kind of get back a little bit, Jason, it's really just more about let's just work together as a team. Team projects supported, by the way, we should say productions. We've got some Hollywood films being done on this, some Netflix work happening as well, and some very, very happy customers. I just remembered, I just want to point out one thing. We did a session with the People's Court last week.
Oh, really?
Oh my gosh, it was so much fun. Yeah, and they were like, using Dropbox and some of these other things, and they would essentially have to Slack each other and say, all right, I'm changing the file, nobody do anything, right? And then to wait for things to sync, which it worked for them for a while, but we introduced them to LucidLink, and they were like, hey, this is it. And remember, it's COVID, right? So all the plaintiffs and the defendants, they have to be at home on these little GoPro style cameras. So I
hadn't really thought about that. Okay, so we've got a couple people asking some questions. So Francois Houlet was asking, so no proxies here. Now, of course, this isn't necessarily dependent or a function of whether or not you're using Lucid or any of those others, but we're actually not using proxies.
No, you can use proxies if you want to save space
all day long, of course.
We should talk about data rates, because again, I have, I trust what my customers are telling me. 20 megabit up and down, I can do 1080, no problem. 100 or so is what they're using for 4K up and down. Some of the up gets to be a little bit of a snag, but I'll tell you that if you just say, I'm using either Creative Cloud, Dropbox, OneDrive, Google Drive, upload files, and then do the same upload with LucidLink and see what the difference is. You'll see that the way that they fractionalize data up in the cloud, they can saturate your bandwidth with pretty quick. And I will tell you that anybody that tries it, I think, Jason, I told you the same thing. Plug in your hard Ethernet cable first, so you
Right.
can see how good can be.
Yes.
And then do your
Right.
Wi-Fi, go edit on the couch. It works fine on
Yep.
Wi-Fi, but
Yep.
Wi-Fi 6 is obviously better than the old, sometimes
Sure.
crappy modem you might get from your provider from 6 years ago.
Right. And it's worth pointing out, just so that everybody's just keeping it honest, we are both on fiber. So, yeah, so
Yeah.
that's why we were able to upload, 10 plus gigs in, what it amounted to
Yeah, that
30
definitely
seconds
helps.
or so.
But like I
It
say,
helps. But it's not a necessity. It's not a necessity
it's
for,
also
for a
relative.
good
Like I
workflow.
said, if you copy
Absolutely.
something to these other services, which those services are great, by the way, it's just
Right.
that on Dropbox, I can't edit the single file. Remember, the Premiere Pro project file is available to Jason. At the same time, it's available to me. If I need to lock it or I need to work in a productions or team projects, there is just this center of truth up in the cloud, which is all anybody really wants. Like I hate having to have all these files all over the place.
Yep.
It's a really flexible, and like I say, I'm not a big fan of just oddball storage, but this one just works, and kind of get on with it.
We love that. So Andy Batson was just asking, are project settings and media cache set up differently than a native setup? And the answer is no. Right? I mean, nothing changes. It's, as Dave said, imagine it's like you're plugging in a USB drive.
Yeah, and part of the magic here, hats off to Apple and their engineering, and certainly on the Windows side and those providers, HP, Dell, Lenovo, those guys. These NVMe drives that are now available, the speeds are just mind crazy fast, right? So we're not waiting on anything to happen on the hard drive. It's all on just get me the data. So the way the caching systems work on a lot of these things, it has to do with how much cache do I want to take local and have things happen in the background. And what really happens when you stick your time marker in the middle of a clip, LucidLink will build blocks around it rather than having to get the beginning and the end of a file. So that's another way that I think this gives us really good workflow for a lot of the Adobe creatives out there, which is just like, I just want to do a quick skim. It can read those blocks. Like when I dragged that thing across there, it was pretty smooth, but remember just the way Premiere is working, it's seeking and hitting those blocks, every couple of seconds to give us that feedback.
So we'll just take a couple more questions. I see, by the way, at my expense, Levon, Golden Rose, Christine, Umacorn are all saying that I'm the lost BG. And I saw it somewhere that I look a little like Andy Gibb. I'll take all of those compliments, by the way. Thank you very much. That was the intent.
I'm happy to set up a Lucid share and put that JSON file up there. If we can get the right from Jason,
that's fine. We don't need to revisit.
You can imagine that being rehashed.
Oh yeah, that was just so everybody. That was 9 years ago. That's almost 10 years ago.
Yeah, you still look good. That's what I'm saying.
Thank you. I'm not. I didn't have any gray then, but it's all coming back. So someone Z by HP is saying he's no longer Beetlejace. Now he's BG Jace.
There you go. See?
Very good. I'll change the avatar and everything. So a couple more things here. So a couple of people were asking, what are we guys using for the broadcast? So I'm using Wirecast and StreamYard today for our guest, Dave. I'm always using Wirecast in our broadcast. Yeah, it's so flexible and awesome. And
I guess it is. Hopefully the playback's good for everybody because it was good for me.
Yeah, no, everyone seems to be saying it's all good here. Thank you. Levon and Steve are laughing, and Umacorn, and Golden Rose, and Reverb Mike, and Christine Joan. That clip is now immortalized forever on YouTube. Yes. Okay, so what I was thinking now, Dave, is maybe... So did you save the project, the bits that you added there, by the way? Why don't you go ahead and save real quickly?
I'll do a save as, and I'll just so you know you're grabbing the right file.
Okay.
And I'm going to call
make
it...
another one?
I'll just call it Friday. Yeah.
Okay, V15 Friday?
Yeah, I'm just going to call it Jason Friday because it'll be easier for you to find that way.
Perfect.
There. Done deal.
All right, so go ahead and close. Nice. Oh, and I'm seeing, yes, everyone's thumbs up on the playback. So yeah, this is, I love this solution. They've been great. Okay, so now I'm in my Premiere, and let's go ahead and do that. So it's not the previous demo 15, so I'm going to do Open Project, which should take me right back there, and there it is, Jason Friday. So let's go ahead and launch that. Click Open, give it a second here. All right, and we're already there, and right away, because this is how Dave left it, of course, here are those ProRes 444. Let me just reveal this in the project here. Is this 4K as well?
Yeah, that's 4K, 444. Yep.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So yeah, you're looking. I never use the preview. I love it though because you just get to see a real quick shot at the resolution here. Turn that off.
And again,
quickly.
remember the workflow is all about, you know, the truth. Like you and I are working on this. Show me today's work right now.
Right.
That's
exactly.
today's work right now. And again, I think it was just building out your waveform files at the bottom. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty crazy. Like I said, once you get used to it, and certainly anybody on the chat that's tried LucidLink, and of course I probably do 3 of these demos a day. People, by the way, always want to know why I get excited about some of these, because it just makes our software look great, right? Like we work with these guys fine tuning things, and we work with some other partners as well. Like a lot of the partners that I talk about, you know, they're very active in making sure there is a really good experience for the Adobe creatives out there, and hats off to them for that. But when this thing can really just do what it needs to do, it sings. Really
yeah.
happy.
So I mean, I'm dropping a few frames, and that's most likely my 4-year-old iMac, but it's got nothing to do with the media. Okay, now we're back to green. You can see that right there.
Yeah,
we're dropping nothing.
Yeah,
it's looking good.
It's a pretty good solution. And the only time I really see, you know, issues are when people don't have a strong Wi-Fi signal, and I'm like, well, wire it up with a cable first,
right?
You know, see how good can be, and then kind of go from there. And it's also a good excuse to go get a new Wi-Fi 6 modem before you edit on the couch. So,
by the way, I just want to point this out too. This was something when I talked to Dave, and maybe we do show this briefly because we are here, and I already see people. A couple of people said they've already just downloaded it. They're already going to the.
I mean, it's pretty quick to get set up.
Look at the scrub here. So again, this is cloud-based content, scrubbing 4K, true 4K.
And the project's up there too, right? You got to kind of focus on that too, right? It's not just the media, it's everything.
No, it's everything. It's every facet of this. Yeah. And this was my big concern, you know. And I'm the first to say, look, I shoot a lot in 4K, but I'm usually editing in 1080. But even still, just to have that flexibility and the ability to just have that with one central source of truth location.
Yeah.
It's pretty massive. I mean, we've had so much fun.
You bring up a good point. You said shooting, right? You and I were talking about this the other day. I think it's easy for us to figure out where all this is going, because if I have my iPhone and I can kind of take my camera, some people call it camera to cloud, but I'm going to shoot from this device to something like LucidLink, and it becomes available to Jason, right? So you know, maybe I'm in Hawaii and I'm just shooting some video, and Jason's got to kind of get this up on social media. The amount of time that we could save from I'm right downtown Hanalei shooting some video, doing something like that. He's got all the logos and the branding and everything they want to do. He's up almost like we're our own TV station, right? Yeah. And you can imagine all the big camera manufacturers, and Sue Skidmore, who's on the call, and I have talked to a lot of these camera makers and other partners that kind of see this as being the future. It's fantastic, and it's limitless on where we're going to go now that we have this central place, you know, sort of in the sky where any consumer can attach to this and go. So again, we're kind of looking out in the future, a little roadmap, but this idea of cameras writing to the cloud, because 5G is going to make that possible, right? I mean, if we think about it, speed.
Right. Absolutely. So I have to, you've gotten at least a dozen questions. People want to know, what monitor are you using? It's so wide there.
I am using a brand new Dell 40-inch ultra wide 10-bit display that just is so gorgeous it makes my face melt sometimes. And it's kind of funny because you know, I'll give you a peek behind the curtain here. There's actually 2 of them here, and there's several more over here. So you know, that's kind of where I am today. So nice. I do a lot of testing. I sort of help Sue out with equipment, and Jace, you know this. I mean, I've got, you know, the M1 Max coming in doing a lot of testing, and I've got, you know, lots of HP, Dells, and Lenovo's coming out, always doing performance testing. And lately, there you go. It's all about,
since we're switching cameras, Dave, you know, I can't let you show me up. Yeah,
it's all about color right now. We've done so much new work, as you've talked about, on HDR, and we're just trying to make it more approachable. because, in Big Sur, Apple's new OS, they've done an amazing job. When you connect an HD display or HDR display, HDR lights just pop up in the display panel, which wasn't there before. And we're seeing the same thing on Windows and DirectX 12, which just means that you don't even need to know what HDR stands for. It just looks better. So we just want to make it easy. So these 40-inch displays, by the way, are full 5K, which is another reason I upgraded from the previous 5K monitor I had, because it's just a bigger space now. And I think it does well. It is a little interesting though when you're on a session like this, because it's
everyone should know.
This way.
Yeah, I told Dave, I'm like, we want to kind of be in 1080-ish, we don't want to be in like down. 5K. Yeah, 1080, right, exactly. By the way, I see Gustavo, our fellow colleague Gustavo Brunzer, and Mike Canfer, responsible for that Club Vote video that you just saw there.
That's
they have
right,
joined
Mr.
the
Hollywood.
chats. Great to see you all. Another question, Dave. So what about cataloging and media management?
Yeah, great question. So, again, hats off to Sue, who's on the call. Sue and I, who's our partner manager, by the way. So Sue and I have been working with a lot of our MAM vendors. So we've had great solutions like CatDV, EMAM, IPV, and other ones all stepping up to kind of help on the management side with LucidLink and other solutions. So they're already sort of seeing the value and how to help manage media with solutions like this that are in the cloud. In some cases, Jason, you might do a search. Maybe you're doing a history of Berkeley School of Music. I'll throw that out there, and you're like, I want to do an epilogue on this show. So you're going to go do some searching. You hit a MAM. The MAM could copy some of the mid 80s stuff and then copy that to LucidLink. So you get so having this auto search and then forward to LucidLink, those solutions exist today, which will really help you prep and edit pretty quick. So lots of ways to manage media that way, unless they just mean, aside from Adobe Bridge and just sort of local media management, which can kind of sometimes be a nightmare when you have a lot of files. Yeah.
It is worth pointing out, just for our audience, again, we have a lot of designers joining us certainly on Behance and Adobe Live, and I know we still have a pretty sizable core user base that uses Bridge. But for those who haven't looked at Bridge recently, it did just get updated. It is in the 2021 version, and it now supports all kinds of video preview and video functions that it didn't have even 18 months ago. So,
and they've redone the cataloging system and
they've redone the cataloging.
Again,
it's a lot faster. It accesses libraries. Yeah.
They should speak up. And by the way, we're all about video today, clearly with My Pillows and a lot of the movies we've done in Premiere behind me. But it's like, let's not forget, the solution we showed is great for InDesign, Photoshop. Really, I'd love to say, by the way, it just works in Adobe apps. It pretty much works with just about anything. It's just a drive. So be as creative as you need to. Some of these solutions are just fantastic.
Yeah. Now, Ferry was just asking, and I'll speak to this one, is what we're doing sort of akin to working with PSDC, so Photoshop Cloud Docs? Not really.
Not really, yeah.
That's sort of a very separate thing, because again, the Cloud Doc idea is that, we're tracking revisions and changes.
List, right? It's a change list.
Right. This, if you're looking for that on the video side, you can do that with LucidLink, but that would be part of the Team Projects offering, where we do track.
Which works great.
Exactly, where we do track revisions and updates, and Dave makes a change, and I get a ping that says whatever. Dave Helmly just.
Well, the cool thing is, if you're in Team Projects, and I were to add sort of that Jason Club Boat piece, as soon as you hit update, it imports that into his project, and he can play the timeline while we're editing at the same time. All of that, I think the reason Jason and I didn't go down that path with Team Projects today, because for one, many of you have seen that, you don't have to worry with it, right? Like pretty much any workflow you can think where you can get to a hard drive, right? I just sort of kind of show, just like a regular hard drive, that's the way it acts. So you can copy and work any way you need to. It's just that Jason and I can see the same drive at the same time. It's hard to get your head around because it works so well.
That's actually a great point, Dave. It's hard to get your head around because it's so simple.
Yeah.
And that's as we go back to kind of the theme of this remote editing 1 year later, I think that's a fundamental difference in all of these companies, how they've really stepped up to, it's so overused term wise, but it's so much more accessible, right?
It
It's
is.
just,
It is.
it's
It's a good out of the
accessible.
box experience. I mean,
Yeah.
you unwrap it, you install it. There's a couple little things you got to put in. Once you log in, you're good to go. And by the way, I log into a share that I added to Mumbai, so I was trying to help some of our engineers and other team members out there. I can get to that. I can edit from Mumbai, and I'm dealing with Mother Earth and her curves at that point, right? And I can get around her pretty fast, and it's
Exactly.
It's decent. So you can have a good experience.
Yeah. So Jennifer asked in the chat, she was actually about that. She goes, so if I'm working remotely with people in Europe and I'm in LA, how does it affect playback and editing and real-time updates?
It's not bad. Let's just be honest, but you are sort of fighting some curves. But I think with the simplicity that it works, maybe you might want to use a proxy. All I can do is say, just try it. And it works. By the way, it doesn't really make a difference how many people are accessing that. Like, we've had some fun with engineering, doing some productions. We've actually loaded some very large 2-hour films with lots of, like, over 800,000 instances of things that are happening in those, and we're beating on it pretty good. And it does pretty good. I mean, we're like, this is impressive. And it manages to keep track. Again, once you get into it, it works just like you would expect any local or network local drive to work. So I would say in that case, by the way, she brings up a good point, Jason. You and I talked about this. What's beautiful about, if we have to say something positive about this whole COVID experience, it's brought a lot of us together. This works, which is why you and I are talking about this today. Right. Like, hey, this really works. We've educated ourselves. IT in a lot of large companies couldn't get in the way. Whenever you said the word remote, they just said nope. And now they were forced to say yes because there was no other way to get content out there. But if I want to have, I saw Gustavo was on the call, our buddy Luis on our team who's in Brazil, and maybe Luis is doing some updates to the motion graphics template. I've got, our friend Mo in Africa. Mo is coming in and he's working on an After Effects team project thing. And then you're working on audio and I'm working on video. Right. And we're all on different places around the globe. This unification of talent is unlike anything we've seen, especially when it works easy and you can just concentrate on the creative and not concentrate on the IT. So I've been a big fan on what's actually happened with people doing lots of work together. It's amazing.
Right. And it really is a reality. I mean, it just bears repeating because I think of even, last March when we were sort of gearing up to be remote until the second week of April. And, you definitely saw how some companies kind of rushed right away to figure out, okay, how can we make the user experience of just getting started with these things better, whether it was documentation or videos or just getting the word out that, hey, you're struggling with this. Here's a way to make this better. And this is exactly what you kind of revealed to me with this. But more importantly, back to your sort of the iPhone or the Android device, whatever camera you're using, if you're wanting to work with friends who aren't, next door to you, and you're actually trying to not necessarily work simultaneously, but be able to collaborate in a way that is essentially effortless in terms of getting the media to that single source of truth location. And really having everything in there, including, as you said, like you can have subfolders of the exports. No reason to have to, all right, send me the Dropbox link for the master file. Let it all live there.
Yeah, and by the way, think if you've got, I was just talking to my friends out at Skydio, which is a drone company, yesterday working on some pretty cool things. I would love to see DJI, Skydio, all these other guys, even GoPro for that matter, great company, come up with ways to shoot an upload via 5G remotely. Yeah. Right. I mean, think if you're doing a drone shot and you're doing news because there's something going on, or again, maybe you're just an editor trying to make some money as a 107 operator for a drone, shooting some horses or something for some event, you're able to just fly over that and have it upload directly to you, and you're editing, doing your thing. I mean, that's amazing. You know, from drone to cloud. You know, the possibilities just again, none of this stuff is there yet, but we can probably all agree in 5 years it's going to be. That's just the way it is.
Yeah, it's so funny when I think, really, just even a few years ago. I mean, and 5G has, you know, at present, right? I think it's yet to truly prove itself, depending upon where you are.
Like any new technology.
Like any new technology, but it will, and you can already see that.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, look, you pointed it out too. Here I am. We're simulcasting to 5 different networks while simultaneously uploading, downloading media, playing back.
And I wasn't dropping any frames because we showed the
and again, my system here, I don't typically run this. People know this on the stream. I don't typically run full res playback, even in 1080, because my machine's a little older. Right. But it caught up. Like, it still did it. And you know, we just did a whole thing on proxies a few master classes ago. Yes, I would probably still use them because that's my workflow, but proof of concept here, this works.
Yeah, you really only need proxies if you're saving space. That's what I tell most people. It's like, if you're concerned about how much is up there, or it could be a security issue where you want to have watermark
security. Or we had a couple of people in the chat saying, "Oh, this is perfect for my dailies." So there's a good example where maybe you're dropping a LUT onto a proxy, or you know.
We use this instead of all the other sync and share services. So our team, you know, we have to do reports like anyone else. Hey, what went on this week or this month? And we have set up a LucidLink folder for our worldwide team where we just drop stuff in every month. Something interesting happens and we want to talk about it. We just share it. And then we have our guy Byron out in the UK. He puts all these videos together, these internal communication videos for us. And we use that instead of these other sync and share service we were using. So it has nothing to do with video or projects. It's just a way for Byron to grab the file. So that's another thing to think about is, you know, maybe there's some other things where you could spread some expense around just by trying to figure out what's the best way to spend, you know, that cloud share money. So.
Right. I love that. And as you pointed out earlier, right, it's sort of in this case where it's kind of designed for video, but it's not specific to video. You can use
spreadsheets. You can write a book.
Spreadsheets, right. Whatever it is.
Vacation photos, right? I mean, I'll be using it when I'm on sabbatical this summer. I have lots of it. I can't wait to get my camera out and start doing my thing. By the way, I will say it works great with red files. Ari,
well, we just saw you just
Blackmagic,
uploaded
all those cameras. It works fantastic. So
I love that.
Don't even worry.
And Josie Friedberg is asking, so saving projects is not a problem, no issues.
Not at all.
That.
No. Yeah, but the other thing is just to let her know. I mean, if you're ever nervous about it, for one, they have a thing called pinning, which can allow you sort of to pin it and freeze it in time, which is kind of cool if you're worried about something going down or just worrying about the edit. But at any time you want, if you have a backup utility, because it's mounted on your system, the Mac just thinks, or the Windows machine or Linux just thinks it's a local volume. You can run a utility that just says, back this up to this Thunderbolt, you know, RAID, or maybe what I do, by the way, is I will back my LucidLink up to one of my servers here. I have a number of different types of servers. I usually put it on my SNS server. I'll back it up on that, and it works fine because the Mac just thinks it's local. And you can run a routine, which is kind of a change list. Whatever changes on the share, just copy those bits over. So again, when you get into this workflow, you'll see it works just like any other drive. And there may be instances where your internet goes wonky. They've got some lights that will kind of go orange or red and sort of say, hey, so you kind of know it's like you're in an aircraft. Sure. Some turbulence coming here, maybe just relax for a second. But so long as you know what's going on, you can just stay in your creative zone. You don't have to worry about some of these other applications that, you know, upload things where you have something on the right hand, something on the left side, what's coming, what's going. It's just so pleasant just to edit in the same place. So.
Yeah, that's what we were kind of talking about before, too. It's just the speed of the asynchronous access is, it feels native. It feels local.
I need to get Terry White on this, by the way. We need to call our friends over on the Photoshop and imaging side, your counterpart there, and say, you guys should be looking at this. You already mentioned Bridge. I mean, I think it really does fit a lot of these workflows for your other evangelist teammates out there. I mean, it could really help you guys.
Absolutely. All right. Well, we've just got about another minute. I see Rick Adams is saying, is this my last stream for a while? So no, Rick, you've got me for one more month. May 1st, I will begin my 20 year.
Did you pick out a topic sabbatical for your last memorable for a while?
Not yet. I think I may actually do, I don't know, maybe I'll do some live. I haven't done live composition in a while, something like that. Maybe a little video. Maybe I'll recreate the club boat theme.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, we probably still have that project around.
I probably still have that white suit somewhere, so we'll see about that.
By the way,
more Manscaped now.
Why don't you wear
That's
that?
TMI.
At least at a minimum, wear the outfit. They'd love to see that again.
Yeah,
live on camera.
Just a little TMI there. All right. In any case,
by the way, Dave, could we put a request in for you to sing that maybe next time? I think we would.
Yeah, that goes without saying. Of course. You know, I have to relive the one take deal there. Dave, thank you so much.
Hey, thanks for having me. This was fun.